Hey, I'm Melissa Cookston, and welcome to Fanning the Flames podcast. With me, of course, is my friend John Lindsay, and we're going to have a conversation about cast iron. So, John, I want you to tell me about this skillet we had sitting here.
Oh, well, I'm going to tell you, this is one of my favorite brands of skillets. This is a Wagner, and this one is probably from the 40s. It's a number 6. It's perfect for, doing biscuits for smaller batches. Now, we talked last time on the podcast about different sizes in cast iron. I like number 8. You got a number 10 cornbread skillet. The sizes go up, of course. The skillets are bigger. This is my personal size if I want to do 6 or 7 biscuits, a small cake of cornbread, number 6. So this is a Wagner ware. I found this thing, and when I did, Melissa, it was just crusted everywhere. I mean, you couldn't see the Wagner on it. You didn't even really know what. I could scratch off and see what size, and I knew what size it was. But I took this, I found it, and I do a lot of cast iron hunting. As you know, I love cast iron cooking. So I took this and put in an electrolysis bath and removed all the gunk, the rust, everything. Took it right back down to the old bare metal. And then there's a process that we use to go ahead and reseason it. It's been reseasoned 6 times.
Wow.
I'm gonna tell you can put an egg in there and it'll slide out just like a non-stick skillet. And I love this old cast iron. But that's this. I bought this skillet and found it in Dyersburg, Tennessee. And I bought 2 of these the same day. I'm not gonna tell you what I gave for them. But I'm going to tell you, I wouldn't hardly take a gold mine in Texas for it now because it just cooks. And but we got a cast iron class coming up, and we're going to talk about all that, and it's going to be a fun time. I love cast iron cooking.
I adore cast iron cooking. I love Dutch oven cooking.
Me too.
A lot of people don't realize you can put your cast iron in your smoker or your grill.
Oh yeah.
I cook a lot that way, especially if I really want to break something down, like a beef shank, so I need to braise it. I'll just stick my Dutch oven in my smoker, and it's probably because I've gotten old and lazy, so I don't want to tend to an open fire.
Sure.
Like I used to do with Dutch oven cooking. So I cheat a little bit,
right?
And add wood. But one thing about these old skillets that people don't understand is, and even the new skillets, but I have a lot of the old ones. The most important thing is keeping them seasoned. You have to really pay attention to what your oil in your skillet is, and I don't know if this is for everybody, but we would simply, take a towel, after we slid the cornbread out, take a towel and wipe it out and put it back in the bottom of the oven just to keep it well seasoned.
Sure.
So, oil is important to cast iron.
It is important, and I always say that some of these old skillets are more thirsty than the others. You've got it's like cooking, honest to goodness, it's like cooking ribs or pork butts or brisket. It's a feel to restoring some of these things. But, we went back and we talked last time, and I keep referring back because we did a little cast iron segment on that last podcast. Sure. But my grandma had one skillet she used for almost everything. And, probably yours did too. And it was, but now people go to specific skillets. I've got a cornbread skillet, I've got a bread skillet, I've got one that I cook eggs in, your favorite stuff. But let me say this. You talked about oil. Now, when you take these back down to the old bare metal, it's just gunmetal gray. And the honest truth is, after you strip this down and you're washing it in the sink, or you're taking your hose and you're really washing it off and scrubbing it. We'll use a little steel wool to get it, after the electrolysis cuts it down. If you're not real careful from that point to your oven, that metal is so sensitive you'll get flash rust on it. And if you put oil and seasoning on top of your cast iron, it's got rust on it, guess what? When you get into high heat cooking, it flakes off. So what we do is we take it right out of the wash, put it in a vinegar neutralizer bath. That keeps the rust from coming down, and then immediately we start seasoning. And I'm going to tell you what I like to season mine with is Crisco. That is my favorite. You could use avocado oil, grapeseed oil, some of those things, but I think Crisco gives it that good shine. Once you put, I've got 6 coats on this, 4 coats will do fine, but you need, I think, on a good cast iron skillet, if you're going to use it, start out with about 4 coats, and you put it in the oven, you wipe it down, and you really, most people over-season these, or over-oil them. That's the way to say that. If you put too much oil in that, it'll make splotches all over. But you want to put your oil in it, heat your skillet up, put your oil in it, and then wipe it down to the point that you really don't think there's a whole lot of oil in there, and then keep it in your oven, 475, 500 for 45 minutes, and then let it completely cool and do that process over and over. Now that's the seasoning part of these when you're bringing them back from the bare method. But the maintenance on them, every time I cook that cake of cornbread or whatever, I take my skillet while it's still a little warm, I get my water warm. You can't put cold in it. If it's hot, don't put cold water in it, but get your water warm in your sink. And some of that steam will take a lot of that off, and I just scrape it with a wooden scraper. You know, I don't want to use any metal or anything like that. Or maybe an SOS pad that don't have a lot of soap in it. You can use soap in these and clean them if you want to. When they used to tell you, when they tell you not to use soap, you know, years ago, of course, we had live soap and that'd strip anything, you know. Well, if Dawn dishwashing liquid is good enough to clean up ducts when they had an oil spill, I think it's okay for an iron skillet. So one little drop in there every now and then. I don't do it a lot, and I'm sure you don't either. But I might put that in there, and once I dry it, then the maintenance of it, put it back on the stove, just a drop of oil, get it hot, and then let it cool back down, wipe it around, and set it up there. It's ready to put your eggs in, cornbread, and do that every time. They're a little more maintenance, but don't you love cooking it?
Oh, I do, and I'm gonna let you restore them, and I'm just gonna cook them.
You'll do a better job in cooking in them.
Oh, I don't know about that, but that old restoring is that's a lot of work.
It's a lot.
It's
You
a
gotta
lot.
love it. You gotta love it.
I do love cooking in it.
Mm-hmm.
So, one last thing before we move on. These numbers on this handle.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I was always told, but I'm not sure, that the number on it represented the width from here to here in the bottom.
Right. Well, what I found out in researching on some skillets, it does. But on some, like, you might have a number 10, especially on the old Birmingham stove and range. There was a company in Birmingham, Alabama that created a skillet that's a little heavier than these Wagners and Griswolds, which is a great company, and it's a workhorse skillet, vintage skillet. But they would put the size down under the number. The number would be like a 6, and the size would be, it showed you the inches. And normally, they're more than a 6-inch skillet. But, yeah, they differ in all the
Brands.
cast iron, all the brands. You might get a number 6 in a Wagner, and something else in a number 6 is going to be a little bit smaller, a little bit larger. So, you just kind of have to figure out which brand you like and what a number 6 or a number 8 is. The workhorse skillet is the number 8. That's the one everybody wants, and that's basically you can cook for a family with a number 8. And if you got a big family, you better get you a number 10. So
Yeah.
that's what it does.
Love the deeper ones for frying chicken.
Oh yeah, love it.
John's going to do a cast iron cooking class Saturday, January the 17th. I will be in Qatar, Middle East.
Woo.
So I won't get to be here.
You won't get to
I
be.
hate that. But I am excited to go back to the Middle East.
I'll bet you are. That's a great trip.
The spice market that we've been to when we were in Abu Dhabi was fantastic. I'm going to tell you, from the time you made it to the parking lot of the spice market, your senses are in overload. You know, it's every neuron is firing. The smells, the visuals. You know, I found things there that I brought back that, you know, I never even knew existed. I didn't know they smoked lemons, dried them, and then grated them. I didn't know that. You know, so you just get these big whole lemons that look black because they've been smoked
Sure.
and dried, and you know that's things like that are what my passion is. Looking for those ingredients that you don't know anything about.
Right.
So the exposure to that has really opened my eyes, and I love the food. So I'm excited about going back.
I bet you are. And when you get to do that and you really research those places, you know, we're here from the South, so we're limited. If you just stay in your zone, you're a little limited. But when you get to do this, you're finding ways and things that other cultures do that you knew nothing about, and you can expand on it. It just expands your entire cooking abilities, and you don't have as many limitations when you're able to.
One thing that I have figured out since we have been traveling internationally is our weeknight dinners have changed. Where, you know, Monday was hamburgers, Tuesday was tacos, obviously,
Right.
Wednesday was spaghetti. Now we brought a lot of international flavor to our house. And things that, you know, I mean, come on, I was born and raised in a wide spot road, Mississippi. You just don't get exposed to a lot of things that, you know what, you may love. You may not, but you know, I'm game. I'll try it. You know, I know when we were in South America, he had me eating bugs, and I never thought I'd like bugs, but and I really didn't.
Right.
I like the crunch.
I don't
but
think
didn't
I
like
could
the
get
bugs.
past it.
But the mole
Right.
from Mexico, you know, in Guatemala, I had the best tasting mango I've ever had in my life. So, you know, the season on those are so short that, you know, they can't really export them to the U.S. So I just whipped up a barbecue sauce while I was there, and it was so fresh and so good. So I'm really glad that we've taken on some international flavors. So now I do make that mango barbecue sauce, but it's not as good as it was in Guatemala.
Well, it expands your palate.
Oh yeah.
And all those different herbs and spices, and from the different cultures. That's what I love about cooking. I love trying new things. I want to know, you know, I was never a big fan of cilantro. You know, we talked about that last week, or the last podcast too, about sage, cilantro, some of those herbs. But man, when I finally tasted it, I didn't know really what it was, but when I really got the essence of it and it was used right, now I have cilantro in my fridge just about all the time, anytime I can, and it makes a difference.
Well, did you know, I think, I heard, my mom was reading a medical journal, she said that there's a gene that we have that makes you either like or not like cilantro.
I didn't know that.
My grandmother, she would come to my house and she would look at what we were cooking or had made, the spread on the table, and she would say, if it had any green in it, did you put cilantro in that? But yeah, that's something that I guess is true. I mean, if it was in a medical journal, I guess it is. I don't know. I want to go over a couple of other cooking classes that we've got coming up. Brisket and Yardsburg cooking class is going to be January the 10th. Cast iron cooking class is January 17th. The Italian cooking class.
Oh yeah.
That's one of my favorites. It's going to be January 24th, and the rib and pork cooking class is February the 7th.
We've got a Cajun cooking class coming up on January 31st that we didn't have on our sheet here. And it's we did a Cajun class, Pete and I did a Cajun class before, and it was fun and it filled up quick. Now, folks, I'm telling you, we had some good eating in that class, but January 31st, we've got another one coming up. It'll be fun.
I will say that I typically don't teach the Cajun cooking class, but I have to be here just to eat. It's so good. I was so full
Yes.
by the time we left that Cajun cooking class, and all I did was just come over here and, you know, I know people here, so I get to come over behind the scenes and steal bites. And those classes are all going to be at the Barbecue All-Stars in South Haven, Mississippi, 875 Goodman Road, just down the road from the restaurant Memphis Barbecue Company. We have a lot of fun at the Barbecue All-Stars. That's where we are today, filming this podcast. And come on by, you might be surprised at what all we have. All right, John, let's do a little talking about whole hog cooking.
Okay.
Now, I'll tell you that when I was first introduced, and this was about 30 years ago, to competition barbecue, I didn't understand really, you know, the different categories that we were cooking. Typically here, we were Memphis and May style competitions, and this is back when Memphis and May still was the sanctioning body for a lot of smaller competitions.
Sure.
So my husband Pete took me to a barbecue competition, and so I walked around and I was hooked from the get-go.
Right.
And I realized that there were three main categories, ribs and shoulders and whole hog. And so when I started really getting into, okay, I gotta make a rub, I gotta make a sauce, and deciding which categories I wanted to try to cook, people would say, you don't want to cook whole hog because it's hard. And that just appealed to my competitive spirit. And I said, you know what? I think I do. I want to cook whole hog.
It's kind of like, if really want you to do something, tell you not to do something, you know, that's...
You know me. You know me. That's my nature. I said, I want to be the best at whatever's the most difficult.
Right.
So I learned how to cook whole hog before I learned how to cook the other cuts, like shoulders, ribs, pork loins, tenderloin. And, you know, Pete really taught me everything I knew. And then I took it and adapted it to my style. So when you're cooking a whole hog, there's really two ways that competitors typically cook it. Either running style, where it's real pretty and its head's all up nice, you know, you put a little curl in its tail, which is more difficult, I believe, than laying it on its back, because you can use that skin as a bowl. But I will tell you that cooking it on its back is much easier on the cleanup process. Now, when we're cooking whole hog, whether it's in competition for catering, you don't get a lot of yield out of it. There's, you know, you can take a 200-pound hog and you just can't really feed that many people with it.
Right.
You know, in Memphis style barbecue, we cook everything to a temperature that is tender enough to be able to pull the meat instead of chop. Because I feel like when you're chopping, you know, you're getting toenails, pigtails, everything else in there, along with the fat and the gristle. So it's important to me to make sure that we're getting that clean, succulent meat that has so much flavor, so much moisture in it. So, you know, I decided to cook running style because I felt like that I could render those fats through the bottom, you know, that skin wasn't holding those in. Because I didn't, you know, and I tried both. But I didn't want the judges to be confused, and the judges could be my customers, friends, you know, barbecue judges. I didn't want them to confuse, number one, the texture's different, but number two, when you're holding all that fat in that pork while it's cooking, it becomes oily.
A little greasy.
A little greasy. And I didn't want them to confuse that with what moisture was supposed to be like.
Right. Two different things.
Right. So that's why I always cook mine running style. And I'll tell you that it's a 24-hour process. And people don't understand that, you know, just because you have a little smaller hog, that's not going to cut the time in half. If you cook a 200-pound hog, it's going to take 24 hours from prep to the end result.
Gotcha.
If you cook a 100-pound hog, It's not gonna take much less time. So,
Now, why is that?
you know, it's those muscles that you have to break down the collagens, you have to break down the fats, and that just takes time.
It's gotta be rendered correctly.
It's gotta be, that's the most important thing. Rendering correctly also means maintaining that little strip of loin
Yes.
across the back. And I'll tell you one of my pet peeves. People will say, that's the best tenderloin I've ever had. And I'll say, well, you haven't had any tenderloin.
Good Lord.
The loin runs down the back.
Mhm.
The tenderloin is up under the rib cage along the backbone, but it comes from underneath. And typically, the way we cook whole hog, that tenderloin over that long period of time is overcooked.
Mhm.
Because we're judged on the loin, the ham, the shoulder.
Right.
But the best thing off a whole hog is bacon.
Oh my gosh.
You
Yes.
have not lived until you've had bacon off a whole hog. So when you think about going to the grocery store and buying bacon, you get a flat strip and it has a lot of fat and some lean.
Mhm.
Well, bacon off a whole hog is just the lean.
Because the fat's rendered.
And it comes in long strips. And what I do is, say if I've got a hog laying here, I go over the rib cage, between the rib cage and the skin, and reach down, and that's where you'll find that succulent bacon. And I don't know, I might cook a whole hog just for the bacon because my mouth's watering right now just thinking about it. But we're not judged on that. But
It's a
you know,
good bite.
it's the best bite on the hog, I think. You know, but it's an art form to cooking whole hog and keeping that loin nice and moist while getting the shoulders done. The biggest misconception about cooking whole hog is the hams are generally bigger than the shoulders.
Mhm.
I gotta get these hams done. Well, the hams are leaner than the shoulders. So it takes longer to break down the collagens and fats and render properly the shoulders than it does the hams,
Mhm.
even though the hams are bigger. So they'll throw all the fire under their hams, and that's where they're worried about their texture or tenderness from.
Yes.
So there's a tip or trick if you are deciding to cook you a whole hog, worry about the shoulders, tempt the shoulders, feel the shoulders. And I have always, just like any other food that thermometers are key with, yes, I will take a temperature check, but right here, when you master the feel of what it's supposed to feel like, then you'll know that you've become a cook that is going to be happier with the product that they turn out.
Sure. And of course, I've seen through the years these different hogs and things that you cooked and won with and all this, because way before we knew one another, I was a big fan. But you have done so much in this cooking world. But I would figure if anybody knows about a hog, you know about a hog. And but getting all three of those components correct at the same time while cooking it and having to present to a judge and them all be spot on is a tall order.
Yeah.
Because of the, like you said, because of the different textures of the meat, it really tests the pitmaster. And you know what? That old word pitmaster is thrown around just like the word chef anymore.
You know, I had never heard that word. I never heard that word before I went to Calabasas, California,
Mhm.
season 2 of Barbecue Pitmasters.
Right.
That's the first time I had heard that word. We were called head cooks.
Yeah.
That's what it was listed on the application to the competitions. Head cooks. Never heard the word pitmaster.
Right. Well, and now that's just flippantly thrown around. But I think to be a pit master, I'm not going to say you have to know how to cook. I mean, a whole hog. Some people go their whole life not cooking one. But I sure think it goes a long way to being what I would classify as a pit master, if you can master a hog. And I've got friends out in South Carolina, which they're totally different hogs than what we're cooking here in Memphis and Maine. Now, I did a little tour out there and shot a little show out there back 2 years ago, 3 years ago. And we went to about 4 of the most famous whole hog barbecue places. Of course, that North Carolina, it's different. It's vinegar based, and they take the crackle and chop it up into meat. And these people stay there, and it's funny because it's some of these barbecue joints, Melissa. You go in and they got a piece of cornbread. They've got a little number 2 tray, and they put your meat on there. They pour your sauce on it. There's no sides. There's nothing except that right there. And people line up for miles and miles and miles away. Something about that whole hog, when you cook it and all that melds together, people line up for it. But it's the best bite in barbecue that I know of. I love it. I absolutely love it.
I do too. And I guess I'm partial. Because, I overdo everything I do. I want to know everything there is to know about it. I want to go at it from a scientific approach. So, I actually bred and raised my own hogs to genetically get the best hogs that I could get for cooking whole. The pork producers, they're raising hogs for parts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's right.
So it's a little different because I needed as much fat cap over the loin as I could get to try to protect that. Mm-hmm. But they don't want that, because they can't really sell that. Mm-hmm. Unless you're, looking at a heritage bred butcher shop or something like that, and somebody's wanting that. But I went full bore Frankenstein on some genetics of hogs, and worked with some meat scientists to figure out what I needed, what I was doing, and then the feeding also becomes an issue. Did you know that hogs love marshmallows?
Did not know that. Didn't know.
Anytime you want to do a photo shoot with hogs, just grab you a bag of those big marshmallows. They love them. They love them.
So I remember, if my memory serves me correct, now this has been a few years back, the TV spot, the article, something about your hogs. And I remember you out there in a pair of boots, and you were talking about this very thing at the time. How did those hogs fare out for you in competition? Did they do well?
Well, I would say so. I won hog 5 times at Memphis in May, and I only had those hogs for 3 years. At the beginning of COVID, we quit.
Right.
So I won 3 first places each time that I used my hogs.
That's unbelievable. But it's just like building a foundation on a house. If you're going to be excel in what you're doing, you're going to have something solid. You got to build a good foundation. And of course, a good barbecue, you can't take an old select or a no-roll ribeye steak, throw it on the grill and expect it to be a prime. You've got to start with a good piece of meat, and that's what you were doing, putting yourself in that position to get the best results you possibly can. And I thought that was awesome. It was fascinating to watch those back several years ago, what you were doing.
Well, I tell you, it was a lot of fun. Watching those little piglets grow up and, having so much input on how they were being fed and their living conditions.
Right.
If you've seen the pictures, you can see me, laying on the back of the mama that was 550, 600 pounds.
She was big. I remember that picture.
And, but they just, they were let out every morning just to, roll in the grass, do whatever they wanted to do, which I thought was also important. I don't really know a lot about hog raising, I just know about my experience.
Sure.
And you know I'm a pet lover.
Oh, I know
I
that.
have a rescue problem. But you know what I didn't have a problem with? Even though I love those little piglets,
Mhm.
did not have a problem cooking them.
I understand.
I did not have a problem cooking them.
Well, that's just southern, But what breed were those?
You know, I've never given that information out.
Oh,
but I'm
oh,
gonna
I'm
tell
sorry.
you. I'm gonna tell you. Just because it's me and you.
Okay.
Nobody else.
Nobody else here?
Nobody else. So I found, did you know there's a such thing as a Hereford breed of pig?
I did not. No.
Yeah. So it was a cross between a Berkshire, a Hereford, and Bengalisa.
Okay.
Now we did have to, the Bengalisa was just too much fat. So we ended up getting crossbreeding the Bengalisa with a Berkshire in order to, I don't know all the percentages, but what we did was we crossbred a Bengalisa with a Berkshire
Mhm.
and got those babies, and then we bred the baby of that to the Hereford and the Berkshire
Gotcha.
mix. So it was a lot. It was so interesting. The first batch did not turn out, but the second batch did. And you know the Mangalites are the ones that look like sheep.
Yeah, well, yeah, I remember
They're
that.
mean. Oh, they're mean as a yard dog. But they're real pretty.
Okay.
But they're real
They're
pretty.
unique looking.
They are. You know, I've seen people cook hog in the Cajun microwave. I've never done that. I have cooked on cinder block pits. The Chamorros in Guam. I visited my brother. He was in the military. He was stationed in Guam. The Chamorros, of course, cook them in the ground, so I've had some exposure to that. But in I don't know what season it was, a barbecue showdown. I was judging, thank God, I didn't have to cook. We gave them these contraptions to cook these hogs, and this was in the finale. And that really tests your mettle when you have no experience on what you're cooking. I have a couple of stories where I showed up and they're like, oh yeah, we'll get you equipment to use. And I showed up and I'm like, what? This looks like a UFO. How am I going to cook a hog in this?
Sure.
So, you just spend some time figuring out the way the airflow is. And which brings me to another question. I get this question all the time. Fat side up, fat side down.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to tell you what my answer is, and then you can tell me what your answer is. Typically, there's two answers. I cook mine fat side up. You know, the fats render and meld into the meat and make it more moist. I cook mine fat side down. It's easier to clean up, whatever. I cook fat side up or fat side down depending on where the heat vents or where it's hottest in the smoker. If
Exactly.
it's venting from the top, I cook fat side up. If it's venting from the bottom,
Right.
I cook fat side down. But that's just where my brain goes to, is scientifically, how is this working?
Yeah. And there's no scientific proof that if you do fat side up, that goes down through the meat. Most of it goes off the meat and drips. But what I'm always looking for is some insulation. If that's why that meat down under, especially on the pork butt, is so succulent right under that fat cap, the secreto they call it, the bacon meat, what they call it on the pork butt, even though it's not bacon, but it's just kind of confit in that fat. But you have, if I've got a fire on the bottom, which I cook over on a lot of drums, lots of drums, then I'll make sure that my fat side is down. If it's, like you say, if it's coming from the right side, left side, top side, I'm going to face my fat toward where the heat source is to insulate my meat and give me a more moist product and more controllable product to finish out. I guess our brains are wired the same, but that's right. That's what I love to do. And I'm glad I'm with you on that. That's a big debate. Everybody wants to fight about something.
I know, and I will say, I'm not a purist. I believe there are a lot of ways to achieve great
Sure.
food, not just barbecue, great food. And I don't think that just because I do it this way makes it right.
Right.
But there are some people out there that think, okay, well, I've won with this, and if you don't do it this way, that's not right. But who am I to say
It's the only.
it's the only way, or it's the right way, or the wrong way? So I think that you have to be really open-minded when you're talking about cooking.
You most certainly do. And I've tried to be more open and more open. That's like, I used to, when I was really winning a lot on the barbecue circuit, I was hanging my ribs in a drum. Hanging my ribs. I felt like that gave me a little better looking ribs. I didn't have to flip back and forth, but there was something about hanging it was almost in a drum. It was almost like it being in a rotisserie without having the rotisserie, and it just produced a lot of flavor. But when you went to boxing, a little more trouble because they would twist on you just a little bit. In a flatter rib, you could actually box. So you have to give and take. But here's the thing about fat side up, fat side down, hanging ribs, not hanging them, running style, hog versus the other one. You've got a reason that you're doing what you're doing that works for you. Somebody else could do it a different way and they may have a reason they're doing it. But as long as we know our methods and we have a particular reason for that, that's why I do things a certain way. But I'll never tell anybody, hey, you've got to do it that way. You're just not right. But a lot of people will.
You're right. You and I agree that there's more than one way to get great barbecue. So,
Yep.
If you live in the north and your mama puts ribs in her oven and that's what you grew up with and that's what's good barbecue, then who am I to tell you it's not? It's good barbecue. And we want to talk about some knives and accoutrement. I'll tell you that when I first started barbecuing, there was no such thing as a sponsor.
Right.
That just didn't happen.
Yeah.
I mean, there were some people that had, that might work for a car dealership that gave them some money, so they considered that a sponsor. But we didn't have sponsors. So the first sponsor I ever got was MAC, M-A-C, and they are a knife brand. Now, I will tell you that I still have the first knives that they sent to me, except for Pete tipped one of them. I don't know why he tips knives. I don't ever tip knives, but he tips knives. Some of the best knives that are relative, they're, priced. Some people might think they're expensive, but they're like, this is a $55 knife.
Moderately priced.
That one's $150 at Santuco. But they last you forever.
Oh, yes.
So
Yeah.
I tell my daughter, it's kind of like buying clothes. Things that are classic, a navy blazer, a black dress.
Right.
Buy quality and you'll have it forever. Unless you're like me and you lose a lot of weight and you can't wear anything that's in your
I
closet.
was getting ready to say, if you're like me, I have to buy 2 or 3 sets of those, but it's not from losing it, I promise you. But anyway, I understand. And these knives here are what I call workhorses.
They are workhorses.
They're a workhorse.
One of the best things that they have are these poultry shears.
Gotta say it.
Yeah, they come apart. I do throw mine in the dishwasher. I don't know if you're supposed to, but I'm lazy. But if you're stack cooking a chicken,
Yes.
you can do it in 2 minutes. And that's just because I'm OCD. So I'm gonna cut a little fat out while I'm there. But those poultry shears you'll never need another pair. Never.
They're strong. And you know what? Back a few years ago, of course, I'm always cutting that little knuckle off when I'm doing competition chicken thighs. These are perfect for that. But people started going to chicken legs in competition.
Yeah.
Because it was easier. Well, let me tell you something. When I started cutting that top knuckle part of that bone off of that chicken leg, I wore out like 3 pairs of shears before I knew what was going on.
Yeah.
I was teaching a class over here and grabbed a pair of them, just like butter. They are absolutely the best I've ever used on those shears.
Yeah.
I love those back shears.
Yeah, and you can sharpen them just like you and I.
Yeah, and I like you can take them apart and clean. I'm always worried about my shears. If you can't take them apart, are you getting all that, because I'm usually use them on chicken. Take these apart and put them right in the dishwasher.
Yeah.
Love them.
That's the one thing about whatever you're using for cutting chicken, you need to make sure, because cross-contamination of chicken is no joke.
It's real.
It's real. Bacteria forms so quickly, and so yeah, that's a very good point. One of the best knives that I found for especially big cuts of meat, when you're wanting to trim, get that silver skin off.
Yes.
And some of the fat that won't render, is a flexible boning knife.
Oh.
And you can look at that. I've got one that's even more flexible than this. This is a brand new one. Mine's really old. But a flexible knife is so great to trim pretty much anything, but especially silver skin.
Oh.
I hate silver skin. It will not render. It's chewy. It's tough. So yeah, silver skin is the bane of my existence.
Well,
when I'm cooking.
It's always tough, especially on a brisket.
Yeah.
Getting your silver skin. And, I always, and since we're talking about it, you got to have a good flexible knife. I always like to get under it, prop it up just a little bit and go down through. And I used one of these last time when I was over here trimming silver skin. And then when I did the pork class, the horn back on the horn meat,
Yeah.
next to the bone, I always like to take that membrane completely off and get that rub and get some flavor in there. This thing here will do it. It's so perfect. It's
The
just
great thing about a flexible knife is when you're underneath that silver skin, if you angle your knife up, not down into the meat, but if you angle it up, that silver skin is tough enough that you can just get the silver skin and not be cutting down into the meat. So that's a good tip for anybody who hadn't removed a lot of silver skin. So obviously you'll start where your silver skin is on top of the meat,
Yep.
and then angle your knife up just a little bit, and it'll just slide right off.
Almost like filleting a fish.
Yep.
It just comes right off there.
Yep. All right, so let's talk about brisket knives. 3 really versions of a brisket knife.
Mm-hmm.
One, this is a Dalstrong knife, and I'm not sure if you can see it because it's black. This is a Grant and Edge, as opposed to this has holes in it.
Mm-hmm.
So you see these little divots in here. That helps when you're slicing for the slice to easily fold off the meat instead of sticking to your knife. So that's what that helps with. This is a nice set of knives. I went down to Brazil and worked with a 3-generation gentleman. I will tell you, one of the best experiences I've ever had. I love Brazil. I actually went to an event with the Mad Butcher of Florence in Italy, down in Sao Paulo, Brazil. It was a lot of fun. The food is fantastic. So I worked with him on getting knives for the American cook.
Mm-hmm.
So what we decided on the handle was to go a repurpose route, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
So these are micarta handles, which is cotton. It's made out of cotton. But they are so sustainable, and they'll last. Like, wood kind of has a tendency to dry or to crack.
Right.
So the micarta handles are perfect for long-term use. And down on the end is a carving board set that he and I also came up with. And I'll tell you, if you're carving a pork loin, turkey breast, something like that, it's the perfect size, and it has the fork and the knife that's already built into it.
Built
So
in.
I just sit mine up against my splashboard in my kitchen, straight up, and it looks good, and you know. it
And
keeps-
everybody needs a good cutting board, and your knives
Yes.
are right here with
Yes,
you.
yes.
And that's Imperial Cooktalaria too. So y'all actually, so let's talk about that just a minute, because I'm fascinated about it. So, you know, I've got a set of these knives, and I have told countless people about these knives because of this one right here. This is my favorite brisket knife ever. You can actually buy this out of the set for under $100. I don't know what that one runs, that Dow Strong, but I bet you it's over 100. I'm not sure, but a good brisket knife, it's so flexible. It helps you, a good knife will help you up your game on anything. But Melissa, I have this set of knives, and I'm gonna tell you, I wouldn't trade it for anything. But I realized when me and Pete were talking about these at first, that you had such a hand in development of bringing these. But also, I know at one time, you correct me if I'm wrong, you guys are the only place here in North America that you can purchase Imperial Cooktalaria cutlery. And it's an exclusive at Barbecue All-Stars. And I'm gonna tell you, if you haven't come by the store, now I'm not making a commercial here or anything like that, but if you hadn't come by and just held one of these, one of the things that was told to me, if you have to work all day with something, that's what these are built for. These are built for. I love them, absolutely.
You're only as good as your tools.
You are.
And these are our tools. These are the ones that we work with day in and day out. You know, and just like anything, just like I have a favorite grill for cooking brisket. I have a favorite grill for cooking, you know, ribs.
Right.
I have my favorite knives for everything that I do. Now, this, I think this is Japanese. I'm pretty sure. But John, I want you. I've played with this some. I'm not sure if you have. So we're gonna sharpen a knife with this, and it is the coolest thing, and it is so easy. Let's see here. Let's just sharpen this.
Okay. No.
Which one you got?
Oh.
Oh, the brisket knife.
Yeah.
The Micarta handle brisket knife, the black one. Let's
Okay.
sharpen that one, because
Okay.
it's longer.
Yeah, it's longer. We can just we're just going to show you a little bit about it. But now, first of all, let's talk about these different degrees on your knives. I have a knife sharpener that puts a little finer degree. So if you look at this, you can turn the handle, and I don't know if folks can see this, Melissa, but it's got the different degrees here. A 19 degree, it's got a magnet around it, and you'll set it up like that, and you see that pitch, how it just gets it at that right angle. A 22nd degree or 22 degree, it's a little more angled, you see. And so I like I actually like about a 15 degree, and there it is. So it's a magnet, as you see there. Sticks up. This actually has a rough side and a little finer side.
It's like an emery board.
And like an emery board, that's right. And like I call it a whip rock. You know, whip rock. That's a good way to.
Wet rock was what my grandparents used. I can remember my grandmother. I was so afraid she was going to stab herself because number one, she wasn't a very good cook.
Right.
But number two, she would have that wet rock and she would be going to town. And I'm thinking, oh Lord, she's going to stab herself any minute. So I'm familiar with your wet rock.
Yeah, that's like what this is on each side. And so you take this, and as long as you've got your degree and it doesn't change, then you're setting this on your flat surface, and you're going back and forth just like this right here. So you get the angle, and once you get the angle, then you will flip it around and do the same on the other side. Of course, then you hone it, and you get it sharp. And this thing right here will put an edge. I'm telling you, when I say it'll put an edge on a knife, and there's nothing worse to me than grabbing a dull knife and trying to do a sharp knife's job with it. It's you've heard them say about some people, well, they're not the sharpest knife in the drawer. I don't want the dull knife. I want the sharpest knife in the drawer. So these help you with that.
Well, I'll tell you, there are many more accidents knives called by dull knives
Mhm.
than there are sharp knives because you're applying more pressure.
Right.
So yeah, keep your knife sharp. Keep your knife sharp. It saves you stitches.
Mhm.
My poor hands, John. I've got so many scars from cuts, just not paying attention or nervous.
Uh-huh.
If y'all don't know me, I'm about nervous as a cat in a room full of rocking chairs. Just because it's you know who I am. If I'm competing or if I'm doing a TV show, I'm nervous.
Right.
You know, and I competed for a lot of years, and I'll tell you, every Saturday morning, because that's usually when we judge. Every Saturday morning, I'd be sitting before the competition, no matter how many times I did it. Still.
After all that time.
Yeah, because it's just who I am.
Well, you're putting everything you got into it, and so when you do that, you tend to get a little nervous. I want to tell you about getting cut. I was over here doing a class, and I don't remember what we were cutting or what we were doing, but this room where we're doing this podcast is your classroom, and it was full. We had one of those classes, and I nicked my finger, and I had to slide a glove on. It embarrassed me to death, and I don't know why. But I'm thinking, these people are sitting here watching me, and now I've cut my finger. But I just slid a glove over it, kept going, slid another glove, kept going. But I don't want to get cut, and the quickest way to not get cut is get you a good sharp knife and stay away from the dull ones. Because the dull ones, when you get cut with a dull one, it's a pretty bad cut because you're putting that pressure on there.
Yeah.
So it makes a difference.
And how about you said you were embarrassed? I did that on Food Network National TV. So.
Oh.
And
Big
it's
difference.
because I was nervous.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
They didn't show it, thank God, because I've cut myself enough for being in the restaurant business for so long. I know how to put pressure on it.
Sure.
And make it stop bleeding
Make
real
it
fast.
stop.
So they didn't show that part, but I was mortified.
Oh, I bet you were. I can imagine.
Now this is special. This is made by Shun, and there were only 250 sets made. I got several of them,
Mhm.
and I think we may have 4 left, maybe 3. But this is a Damascus blade knife. Look at this handle.
That is absolutely beautiful.
I mean, it is gorgeous. You get the chef knife and a boning knife,
Beautiful, beautiful,
and it's pretty flexible. But yeah, I want you to feel how sharp those are.
Oh, I know. I pulled one of these out of the
Gee.
the sheath earlier, and I had to watch it because I thought I was going to cut myself before I put it back in. But I got a story about these. So on the state cook-off circuit, at one time, I don't know exactly how they did it, but for winning certain contests, they would award you one of these knives. And I've got 2 of them that I won through cooking. And I have not, now these are high dollar knives, folks, but you know what, the quality, all you gotta do is hold them. Would you use these as a daily driver?
Oh
Or
yeah.
You wouldn't bother you to use
No.
them as a daily driver?
Here is my thing. You know, I've got some really expensive tools, and I feel like if I've got it, I'm going to use it.
Mhm.
You know, I went through a period in my life when I was younger. It's like I'm going to put this up and save it, like China.
Right.
I'm going to put this up and save it for those special occasions.
Mhm.
And I guess it's when I got older, I said, you know what? Forget that.
Right.
Forget that. I'm going to use the China. I'm going to use the nice knives.
That's right. I'm with you 100%. I haven't taken these out of the cases just because they're in my trophy case, and I hadn't done anything with it. But like all my Imperial, anything that I've got, I buy stuff that I'm going to use and work with. I like that cast iron skillet we talked about a while ago. I've got some really nice cast iron skillets, but I don't have room to enshrine cast iron. I'm wanting something that I can cook in. So all my cast iron gets cooked in. I love it, and there's no need for me to have 50 cast iron pans if I'm not going to use them and be able to exhibit them. I'm going to cook it while I got it. So that's the way I feel about it too. But isn't that a great knife? It just feels so good. And there's you back on that flexible boning knife. Do the same thing that we talked about the Mac did. It It just feels big.
All right, I'd like to move on to something that I've been getting some questions, and if you have questions, you can always DM me, put it in the comments if you want to. And we will try to get to it. So there's been a big conversation about me losing weight, and yes, I have. I had some health stuff come back, and they said, look, you need. I had gotten to be kind of a chunky monkey. So for health reasons, I decided, you know what, I'm going to lose some weight. And so we really started cooking at home.
Right.
This is one thing that I had figured out while spending so much time in Italy. I could go to Italy and eat everything I wanted. All the carbs, y'all know, unless you're in Florence, because Florentines don't put salt in their bread, so it's not that great. But they do have great cured meats that make up for the salt. So love Florence, love everything about it, but not the bread. So I go over there, I eat so much carbs and pasta and breads and stuff that's not good for you. The cured meats and the oh my gosh, I could drink the traditional balsamic vinegar over there. That's
Yes.
You know the balsamic vinegar that when you turn it upside down, it takes a minute for one drop to come out.
Just a little thick.
That kind of balsamic vinegar.
Right.
I do not eat healthy over there. But what I figured out was I felt healthier. I felt better, especially when you spend, Lauren and I went to the Italian Culinary Institute. So we were there in school for an extended period of time. She went to school there. But what I figured out, the reason we felt better was because they're not using preservatives like we do. They're cooking with fresh ingredients. So that's what we started doing at home. I switched from a lot of red meat to pork, and I got really tired of chicken, especially with the woody breast syndrome, and they're making chickens so big so fast. I just kind of got turned off by chicken. So I switched to turkey. I'm gonna tell you, I figured out things to do with turkey. When you take turkey and put a slice of pear or apple on the sandwich with some wheat berry bread, with some arugula, and some, basil mustard. Those things that I know are fresh. My daughter makes champagne mustard at home.
Right.
I know exactly what's in it. So I am just like if I've got it, I'm going to use it. I don't like bland food.
I don't either.
I don't like to feel like I'm on a diet. So we figured out ways to absolutely make food fun, but still eat healthier.
Right.
One thing, we make our own vinaigrettes. Now we'll put this on veggies, we'll put it on fruit, and of course salads. Make salads interesting. Put some dried fruit or fresh fruit in there along with some halloumi cheese. I call it the squeaky cheese.
Yeah.
Halloumi cheese, you can put that in a cast iron skillet, or you can grill it, and it has the texture of like meat. Not that I'm like a tofu person or anything like that, but in a salad, it gives great texture. I'm a texture eater.
Sure.
If you put something sweet, something crunchy, something with the texture that's firm in a salad, I'm gonna love it a lot more. Right?
It don't feel like you're just eating grass, so to speak.
Yes.
You got some substance to it.
Yes. So I'm going to talk about how we're making vinaigrettes.
Okay.
Because we're doing it all at home in a small food processor. We make different flavors. It all tastes different all the time. So it's not boring. Because I don't like boring. So talk a little bit about how to make a vinaigrette. You can start with, this is a olive oil. They also make balsamic vinegar, but you want to start with a vinegar. I love this O brand of vinegar. They make lots of different flavors. This is a nasturtium vinegar. This is a blood orange. This is a honey white balsamic. They also make a blood orange vinegar. Nasturtium is a flower.
Right.
This is a vinegar. They also have a chive onion vinegar. They have, those different flavors. are really special. So, you know, it really gets your juices flowing creatively about how am I going to make a vinaigrette to either put on a salad or fruit or whatever. Then you want a binder, a little bit of mustard. This is actually I have my glasses on, but this is actually
Basil Dijon.
basil Dijon mustard. You just need a little bit. Honey for a sweetener. Look at this, orange blossom honey.
Yeah.
And I mix and match some flavors. Now the last ingredient is oil, so you're gonna mix this all together.
Get your acid.
Acid, binder, and sweetener.
Right.
The oil you wanna put in last. You want to food process and pour that oil in very slowly so it all blends together and it's not broken.
Right.
This is blood orange infused oil. This is just a really good extra virgin olive oil. This is one of my favorite finds. It is a garlic olive oil.
I bet that was good.
Now, what I do when I get that together is I taste it. Sometimes it might need a little seasoning depending on what you put together.
Sure.
A little, you know, salt, pepper, garlic, onion powder.
I use grilling chicken.
Yeah.
Believe it or not.
Well, it has all that in it.
It's got it all in there.
It has it all in there. But that's an easier way to eat healthy and still not have boring, bland food.
That's right.
I have a saying, season my damn food. I do not like bland food.
Yeah.
Also, if you want to, you can use hot honey. I like spicy things.
I do too. Yeah.
So you can also use hot honey as your sweetener. So that is one way. I've switched to eating pork and turkey, and that's pretty much, you know, good. I don't eat a lot of seafood, but I love some barbecue shrimp, some grilled oysters. Not a huge, you know, I will eat salmon. I'll tell you, here's a funny story. I went to judge the World Food Championships in Las Vegas. And I judged, that year they had a salmon sponsor. And so I judged salmon as part of, I judged the KCBS style, you know, the four meats, brisket, pork, chicken, and ribs, but also salmon. Well, I got sick. And so I've been off salmon especially for, it was, I mean, that's a long time ago.
Well,
But
some of that sticks with you now. You get sick.
yeah, it's a funny story. My husband took one look at me, and you know, for those of you who don't know me, I've been married to him for a really long time. Bless his heart. So, you know, he took one look at me and he told the taxi cab driver, "You need to get us there. You need to get us back to the hotel." But yeah, so then I had to walk. Once they got us to the hotel, you know, you're staying in one of those casinos, so it's forever to get to your room. I did make it, thank God. I didn't embarrass myself there. Yeah, so I've been off fish, but making our own sauces, making our own vinaigrettes, making everything pretty much from scratch. And I feel better. I just feel better.
I know, and it makes a difference. And you know, you continue to lose a little bit of weight, and I never thought you were overweight, not 1 ounce, but now that's just me. You know, everybody knows their own body. But let me say this, you just described the way I make my own vinaigrette dressing at home, exactly to the letter. I'll squeeze a little lemon juice in mine sometimes, but let me tell you one of my favorite dishes to have that good fresh salad with. I like to make a good quiche and have that salad on the side, and it's really bright and fresh with this type of vinaigrette. Now you've got my mind rolling here and thinking I'm going to start using some more of these different oils and stuff. You know, I'm kind of one of those guys. I kind of stay in my own lane most of the time. I kind of get, you know, maybe a rut. I don't get outside the lines a whole lot, but as we talked about, we try to expand our palates.
Right.
This is a good, easy way you can do that. and you can keep it fresh, exciting for your family, and when you're cooking and trying different things, it just makes you want to eat and more.
Oh, yeah,
So
yeah.
I think that's awesome.
Two other things I'd like to talk about is oils.
Yeah, I'm enthused over this one.
Yeah, so both of these oils have a really high smoke point. So, that's something that we've started, when I was growing up, it was we used vegetable oil.
Yeah,
Vegetable oil for everything.
that's just what you had.
Yeah. But as we've gained more knowledge, been more educated, this algae cooking oil and this pecan oil
Yeah.
has a higher smoke point. So you can take a good look at that, depending on what you're wanting to use it
Right,
with.
yes. Now this algae cooking oil is like 535 smoke. This one's almost 500, which are both high smoke ones. I use, especially when I started cooking on the steak circuit and I really started honing my craft, I switched, you're always spraying your steak, putting it down, trying to get those perfect grill marks. And that's when I really realized the importance of a smoke point. One little bit of burnt anything can turn a judge off before you know what's going on. So I was using the highest smoke oil I could find. And the two that I could find that were the highest at the time were avocado oil and grapeseed oil. Both of them were, and you could get them in a little mystery bottle. And I had a secret way of putting them on and everything. But these smoke points are very good, and I bet you this pecan. Now, you have to tell me. Let's talk about it now. There's going to be some folks out there that's going to ask me, algae cooking oil. Tell me about algae. What? I don't know much about algae cooking oil, but I do know about this pecan.
Yeah. So the thing about algae is it's very clean.
Yes.
So there's really no taste. I'll tell you, when I was a young girl or lady, whatever, I didn't like olive oil.
Right.
You go to the Italian restaurant and it's just like, it just had an off flavor to me.
It's a little bitter maybe if you got it.
I love olive oil now.
I do too.
I love it.
Mhm.
And the first press, I'll take it.
Mhm.
Which, it's typically, it's like orange wine. It's a little unfiltered,
Yeah.
got some sediment in it, but I love it.
Yeah.
And it's just because, now I've had it with the right things.
Mhm.
So this has a very clean taste. Probably the cleanest taste of all the oils.
Okay.
Even vegetable has a
little
specific
bit.
taste.
Mhm.
So I would say that if you want a very neutral, clean tasting oils.
And high smoke point
Yeah.
to go with it. And of course, this pecan, I'll bet you, I've not used this yet, but I'll bet you, and you probably have, but I'll bet you it's got that little bit of nutty flavor to it. And it may not, but I'll bet you it does. And I bet you, I'm going to love this. I can't wait to try that.
Yeah, so when I first saw the pecan oil, I was worried because it's not something that you ordinarily see.
That's right, yeah.
I was kind of amazed. It's kind of expensive.
Mhm.
But I think it depends on, is it worth it?
Mhm.
And here's the thing too. If you're using something like a salad dressing, a oil for a salad dressing, or it's not like I'm frying 23 chickens in it.
Yeah, that's right.
So it depends on how much you need as to, if that expense is worth it or not.
Mhm.
So I only use this, when I need just a little bit of oil, but I want a lot of good flavor.
This is what I call gourmet oils.
Yeah.
Gourmet oils that you would use in things like your vinaigrette dressings. You're doing different stuff like that with it, and like I say, you're not frying chicken. But let me ask you this: since we're talking about oil, let me wait just a minute because I'm interested in what you have to say. If you're going to fry fish, if you're going to do any of those things, what's your oil of choice nowadays?
I'm more of a canola oil kind of girl.
Gotcha.
I like canola.
Good enough.
I like it because it's you know, it doesn't have a lot of flavor. And I can, you know, really, vegetable oil to me is heavy. Canola oil is lighter.
It's a lighter.
Yeah.
I like peanut oil. Now some people can't, of course, are allergic to peanuts.
Right.
But boy, if I'm frying a turkey for Thanksgiving, and if I'm frying even fish and things like that, I love peanut oil.
Well, the last oil I bought and what's in my pantry right now is peanut oil.
Mhm.
Just, you know,
Yeah.
you know just as well as I do. You go and you're standing there and you're looking and you're like, you know what, I'm gonna get this time.
Mhm.
I mean, it's just what we do
Just-
as cooks. I mean,
Just
we
try
just-
it.
Yeah.
You know, I think the peanut oil adds a little bit of flavor to certain things, don't you? I mean, I think it's got a little bit of, just makes it.
But honey, if I'm frying fish or chicken or anything like that, and y'all know we fry a lot of stuff in the South.
Mhm.
Honey, if it's able, we will fry it.
That's right.
Yeah, we'll slice it up and fry it. Is the season, the batter. I mean, you know, you gotta season your flour, your cornmeal, or whatever it is.
Right.
So, you know, I don't spend so much attention on the oil as I do, you know, whatever my breading is,
Mhm.
making sure that that gets seasoned properly.
Sure.
Because, you know, you can take a piece of catfish, and in Mississippi, you know, we farm raise a lot of
Oh, I know you
catfish.
can. Yes.
I went fishing with my grandmother, and I'll never forget. She gave me a .22 rifle when I was a kid, and I would sit while she was sitting fishing for catfish. I was shooting the water moccasins with a .22 rifle. All right, so I've taken pliers, I've cleaned catfish, I've cooked a lot of it.
Mhm.
Gotta have good hush puppies with catfish.
Oh, you
but
do.
that's another time for, you know, to talk about hush puppies. But, you know, you can cook it to perfection where that fish is so nice and flaky. But if it doesn't have any flavor and it doesn't have any
It
seasoning,
ain't worth 15 cents. Doesn't matter how good it's cooked, does it?
no,
You know,
no,
and I've had some flavorless catfish,
me too.
and that's why me and you don't do flavorless food anymore. It's kind of like our last podcast, name of the podcast, Season My Damn Food.
Yeah,
I want it seasoned.
yeah.
This is a good way that you can add a little bit of extra flavor to the things you're doing that you need your oils in. I think it's pretty neat. And you're knowledgeable about all this stuff. It's fascinating to sit here and pick your brain about this.
You know, I'm pretty sure I have dementia. I say that as a joke, but it may be true. I have forgotten so much. You know, I used to spend so much time really investigating, is what I would say.
Mhm.
Investigating ingredients and not for nutritional information, but just because I wanted to know.
Mhm.
And so much of it I've forgotten. I guess that information got pushed out when COVID came along. It took my brain over on, you know, how is everybody going to survive?
Right.
But, you know, I enjoy learning.
Oh,
And
me
I
too.
say, if you're not learning anything you like to do, if you're not learning about it continually, then, you know, why do it?
Why do it?
Yeah.
I want to know as much about what I'm doing. And since we did, you know, don't mean to keep reverting back, but you know, we talked about cornbread pretty extensively last time. And you gave a tip. And I have to give you props for it because I've never done it before. So I make my cornbread batter, it goes in the iron skillet, of course, and there's a trick to all this. But and if you want to know, be sure to watch the last podcast we had. But you said, hey, once your batter, you know, it's normally a little thick, take your hot water on, roll it under there, and then put it back out. I made the best cornbread for Thanksgiving that you would ever put in your mouth. And I think it's the hot water. I think it'll, you know, but when we're talking about those things, so this week I went back and I researched what every ingredient in that pan of cornbread is. The baking powder, the baking soda, the little bit of acid that you've got to have to trigger the baking soda and the different stuff that you have that makes that little skillet of cornbread tick. But I wanted to research it. I wanted to know. Same thing with biscuits. I'm pretty fascinated when it comes to baking things. But I want to learn as much about that stuff as I can.
Yeah.
And we're, you know, that's our curious minds at work.
Yes.
But that's how we learn. from there.
And it's much easier when it's something you love.
It is, yes it is.
Thank you guys for tuning in to Fanning the Flames. I will give you a little bit of a heads up. Coming up on some podcast episodes, I'll have Susie Fogelson, formerly of Food Network.
Oh, yeah.
She had that show, what was that? What was her show? She had 8 seasons of the show, and it was Next Food Network Star.
Oh, yeah.
That's where Guy Fieri
Loved
was
it.
found.
Yeah.
A lot of good cooks were found on that show. So she was a judge on that show, and she's one of my BFFs. So we're gonna have her on to talk about Food Network, her experiences there, and I'm hoping she's gonna gossip with us a little bit and maybe give us some. She's gonna spill the tea, as we like to say. And also, I'll be shooting a podcast while I am in the Middle East, over in Doha, Qatar. And hopefully I can get Steve Harvey on that. He'll be there. He's the one bringing me over, so hopefully I can get him on there, to spill some more tea. Thanks so much for coming today, John, and being with us. I so enjoyed chatting with you about cooking.
Man, I love this podcast. I love being a part of it with you. And you know what? I learn something every time we do. And by the way, when you get the guitar, hello, Steve. John said, hey, how's that sound?
I will do that for you. Thanks again, guys.